I would like to welcome you to LSU, and I would especially like to welcome you to the Computer Science Department. We're very happy to have you joining us this fall. Wish we were having this in person, but glad that we could at least get together in a virtual environment. And I'm really looking forward to meeting you in a few weeks. So just to talk a little bit about my role within the department, I am an instructor, and so you may see me at the front of your classroom at some point. I do hope that I will get the good fortune of teaching you all before you finish your academic career at LSU. I'm also the undergraduate coordinator and advisor, and what that means is I don't do all of the advising within the department, but I do all the specialty advising. And then when you've got those unusual circumstances that are just outside the realm of what is normal, just needing to talk to your advisor, you can always come to me. I'm kind of the problem solver, in conjunction with Brandon, or kind of the problem solvers in the department for our undergraduate students. So we're the ones that you'll reach out to if you run into trouble and need to try to figure something out academic wise. And then I'll let Brandon introduce himself.
Hi, I'm Brandon Short. I'm staff on with computer science, and I help Patty to just kind of fill all the gaps for any of the needs for our undergrads. So the College of Engineering has counselors, and they can help you with some issues, but you can always come to us. We can tell you, what are the best resources for you. If we don't have an answer for you, we can put you in the right direction or find an answer for you. And basically, it's our job to give you the support you need to graduate with a degree in computer science.
So before I jump into the meat of the presentation, I do want to say that if you've got any questions while we're talking, please, write your questions there in the chat. Mikey will be monitoring that. And if you've got a question that comes up on what we're talking about, we're happy to stop and answer those questions for you. So I want to start out. This is really slow. I don't know if it's going to go. There we go. I want to start out with kind of a question that a lot of people think is pretty obvious, but it's not, and that is, what is computer science? A lot of people have the misconception of what computer science is, and so I want to kind of give you a little indication of kind of what you've signed up for. So computer science is about solving problems using computational resources. It's not about just using computers. That's what a lot of people have the misconception of what computer science is, but actually our discipline existed long before the invention of computing machines. But it really is about tackling our problems, and computers are just the tools that we use to tackle those problems. An example that I like to give is computer science is no more about computers than astronomy is about telescopes. Astronomers could not do their job without telescopes. We can't do ours without computers, but it really is all about focusing on solving those problems. And so, kind of, well, what is computer science? There's so many different avenues that you can go into with computer science. Very exciting fields. You can, involving visualization and creative imagery, design, cybersecurity, infrastructure networks, information systems, algorithm development, and theory development, and it's really connected to other fields. That's where we really see major breakthroughs in our discipline, is when we pair our computational capabilities with other disciplines and solve those problems. And so that's just kind of a very quick back of the envelope, what is computer science? So I wanted to kind of start with that.
I'll take you through okay. some of the jobs where you'll end up with computer science degree. Just right off the top, the most prevalent job is going to be application developer, a software developer, ranked as the best job by U.S. News, also projected well by the Bureau of Labor Statistics as far as number of projected jobs. So it's a good paying job, and there are a lot of jobs. And you'll see here, most of the other top 10 jobs are going to be in the medical field. In fact, all of them besides statistician and software developer. Then here we have on our next slide a just rough comparison of the lifetime earnings of computer science majors versus college graduates and high school graduates. And then our next slide is just an example of some of the companies that have employed our computer science graduates. I want to take a moment here to say that these are large companies, but computer science gives you the flexibility to work for either large companies and doing usually software development in small teams, or you might work for a mid-sized company and kind of have a more jack of all trades type roles, serving whatever their tech needs are. Or you could end up working for yourself or for a small company. And many of our graduates, especially that now advise on our industry advisory council, kind of helping us keep the curriculum updated and applicable. They come back and serve and are just show that they're rewarded by their computer science degree here and now are working for themselves or decision makers out in industry.
So the moral of the story is, with your computer science degree, you're going to have lots of flexibility of, you know, the kinds of things that you want to work on, the kinds of companies that you want to work for, where you want to work for in that. And so I would want to kind of switch over now and start talking about the computer science program here at LSU. What, you know, how we're laid out and what you kind of expect from the program. So our program provides a strong foundations so that you are able to build on your skill sets in a field that is rapidly evolving. I have no doubt that when you leave LSU 4 years from now, you will start out potentially working on stuff that doesn't even exist today. So it's a constantly changing field. So rather than teaching you the skills that are relevant today, we give you the foundation so that not only you have that creative mind, you have those theoretical concepts, you know how to apply your practical skills, that not only can you keep up with a rapidly changing discipline, but you can be that change maker within the discipline. Many of our graduates are on that cutting edge and are those change makers within computer science and within technology in general. So in our here in the department, we give you the option of 5 concentrations. They are software engineering, cloud computing and networking, data science and analytics, cybersecurity, which is new this fall. The very first time that we've been able to offer that as a concentration to our students is this fall. We also have computer science and a second discipline. So we're going to walk through what each of those mean. So software engineering is all about developing software. It's the study.
I'm going to stop you real quick, Patty, just because I have a question. You might get to it, but when does the CS major have to declare a concentration?
So you've got to declare a concentration your very first semester, but you don't have to stick with that. And we're going to take a look at in the flowchart how they're the same and how they're different. And then really you've got 3 or 4 semesters before you really need to kind of get serious about what's your concentration going to be. And even I've had students, even in the last year of their degree, decide to change concentrations with very little consequence of waiting that late. But the first 3 semesters and all of our concentrations are the same. It's laying that foundation. And then after those third semesters, they deviate depending on what your concentration is. So you need to declare one right away. If you don't know what you want that to be, most of our students, we go ahead and put them in software engineering just because the vast majority of our students choose software engineering because they fall in love with programming and that's what they want to do. But then you can change it at any time past that point. Any other questions right now, Mikey?
Not yet, no.
All right, so software engineering is all about developing software. So it's the study and application of engineering principles that address the design, the development, and the maintenance of software. So that's what our software engineering concentration is about. Cloud computing and networking, focuses on the practice of using a network of remote servers hosted on the internet to store, manage, and process data rather than on a local server or a personal computer. So it's looking at how all of these things connect effectively, efficiently, and securely so that we have what we need when we need it. With it's out there somewhere, we can access it when we need to. Data science and analytics, that focuses on data analysis, which is a process of inspecting, cleansing, transforming, modeling data with the goal of discovering useful, actionable information so that we can draw solid conclusions and we can support decision-making with our findings. And then cybersecurity is the art of protecting our networks, devices, and data from unauthorized access or criminal use, and the practice of ensuring confidentiality, integrity, and the availability of our information.
And then our fifth selection would be the second discipline. This matches either an official LSU minor, or if there's not a specific minor in the area you're interested in, we can work with you to choose 15 hours of courses that will count toward your computer science major. So we most often see this with either double majors or folks who are interested in, we see a lot of folks doing the digital media program for, let's say, for like developing video games. We also see folks who are sometimes interested in disparate fields. You might think they aren't connected to computer science, but like especially biology, we have a lot of breakthroughs in folks who have an understanding of biology and also have an understanding of computing. Let's see, and we have some information here on the digital media minor. There's an art track and a tech track. Most of our students are on the tech track, but we have students who are on the art track too. You take a series of courses, and then you have your last course is a senior design project. You get in small groups and actually build a project out. We also, some of these courses like this programming digital media, this video game design, we offer those for the students. You don't have to be in the digital media minor. A lot of flexibility with computer science. What you got next, Patty?
Oh, did you want to talk about the robotics minor?
Oh yeah, robotics minor too. We do have a student organization. We'll mention that's robotics, and they do like a BattleBots type competition each spring. But you'll get paired up, and similar to the digital media minor, you'll get paired up in your final classes to work on a project. Usually robotics, they'll pair you with folks who are in other programs in engineering, mechanical, things like this to be able to build your robotics project. Some other specializations, we have a new one that is in the second discipline, education, that is specific for creating positions for Louisiana computer science teachers. The state has realized that we need more computer science classes pre-college, and so that we have a series of courses that teach educators some computer science topics, and we'll teach computer science students educating techniques so that you can go into the schools immediately after your graduation. They'll have a one-year position available, and they have some grant money for that for folks who are interested in teaching in Louisiana schools computer science courses.
So there is a book called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And one of those habits that's identified in that book is starting with the end in mind. And I know you are just starting out in your academic career here at LSU, and you're focused on starting, but I would like for you to take some time to think about the ending, where you're going to go from here, and what you can do to help prepare you for for that end in mind and keeping that end in mind. So one way that you can do that, we encourage our students to at some point along the course of their undergraduate education to get an internship. There are lots of internships that our students take advantage of them. There are some that are available locally within Louisiana, and many of them that are distant internships that travel to different parts of the country and work on internships. Most of them are over the summer, but not always. Sometimes students will take a semester off, go work at Google, then come back and finish up their degree. And then there are some internships that are concurrent with, as a part-time employment while students here locally within the Baton Rouge area and Baton Rouge and New Orleans primarily in that part-time employment while, during the semester while you're in school. Normally, the vast majority of the internships you apply in the fall for an internship the following summer. So when you get to the point in your academic career where you're ready to take a look and get that experience under your belt, don't wait too late. Don't wait till April to decide you want a summer internship, because then it's not impossible, but it's going to be a really tough battle to try to get an internship because they're pretty much gone by that point. So I'll encourage you to work with the Olin Career Center early in your academic career. They're located in the LSU Union, and they are there. We have a dedicated resource for the College of Engineering that will help you develop your resume, that can schedule mock interviews for you, that will let you know and help you pair up with internships and job opportunities. So I would say early on, within the first year, stop by the Olin Career Center, introduce yourself, and kind of get things going in that respect. And they're very valuable resources, and I encourage you to take advantage of them. I would also encourage you at some point in your undergraduate career to do some undergraduate research. If you are looking to pursue a graduate degree, or if you're looking to go into a research environment, or even just going into industry, showing that initiative of doing undergraduate research looks fabulous on your resume and your applications. We give you a couple of different ways that can work for you. We have 4 different courses that you can get course credit for your undergraduate research. If you are in the Honors College, you can take 3 hours of Honors 3991, and 3 hours of 3992. 3991 is undergraduate research, 3992 is your undergraduate thesis. And then if you're not in the Honors College, you still got the opportunity for undergraduate research. You can get credit for computer science $39.99. You can take it for 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours a semester. You can take it for up to 4 hours of course credit. And then there's computer science $49.99, which is the same layout. The difference between the 2 classes is kind of the level of research that you're doing. If you're doing more advanced research, you'd register in $49.99. If you're doing kind of that introductory research, you would start out in $39.99. The way that works, you work directly with a member of our faculty. So if you are interested in a particular area, then I would encourage you to, when you're ready to tackle some undergraduate research, to contact a professor that is in that area of research and ask them to supervise your undergraduate research. And what they will do is they will coordinate with you on, what you're going to be doing, how much, what level is this, a 3,000 level, 4,000 level, how big of a research project is. So is it worth 1, 2, or 3 hours of credit for the semester? Having said that, most people partner with a professor that they have a relationship with, that they've taken a class with and gotten to know. So I would encourage you, we've got a fabulous faculty. We have world-renowned experts on our faculty. I would encourage you to take as many different faculty members as you can and build those relationships so that you can do some of that undergraduate research with them. Another avenue for undergraduate research is to actually work in one of our research labs within the department. Our faculty members are research faculty, and so they've got labs, they've got research going on. There's lots of very exciting, interesting things going on. And so you may be able to work in one of our, and we've got quite a few students who are working in our research labs as an undergraduate researcher. So in that respect, rather than getting course credit, you'll get paid for the research that you're doing in those labs. Do we have any questions, Mikey?
We had one question. Haley kind of answered it in the chat, which is good, but it was, let me see, are there any machine learning in the undergraduate coursework? And if so, under which major or concentration, I think?
Yes, there is machine learning, and it actually applies to a number of different concentrations. I'm trying to think. A lot of our software engineers take the machine learning, but also in data science and analytics, and even in our cloud computing and networking. And it probably applies to all of our concentrations now that I'm thinking about it, except second discipline.
Yeah, Haley had said that it would be under the data science and analytics concentration.
Yeah. All right. Okay. So one of the things that I want to kind of talk about is what I call my recipe for success. And this isn't just for computer science students. This is for, computer science classes, but for all of your classes. College classes are very different from high school classes. And, you've got to show the initiative and put in the time and the energy to be successful in your classes. And a lot of times people don't really know what that looks like. So let's kind of talk about what that looks like. So one thing is you need to attend class. Vast majority of your professors are not going to take roll, and some of your classes are going to be really big. They are not going to notice if you're not there, but you need to be there. Students that attend class are much more likely to be successful than students that do not. But don't just show up to class, pay attention, ask questions, and engage. The whole classroom time is for you, and so you need to make the most of that time, investing your time in it. If you've got a teacher that gives you reading assignments or homework assignments, I strongly encourage you to finish them prior to class, or at least attempt them. If you read something and you don't understand it, you can't do the homework. If you've at least seen the material, and you come into class, then when the professor goes over it, then it clarifies your fogginess. But if you're just coming in, you've never seen this before, and you hear it in class, it's just going to create the fogginess rather than clear it up for you. So it's always best if you have the option of taking a look at it before you see the material in class. You'll get the most out of your class time. Another way, an avenue for success is to learn the material as you go along. It is very tempting to wait until a couple of days before an exam to go back and look at the material that's been presented to you in class. But a lot of classes, there's only 2 tests, midterm and final. And so if you wait until just before one of those exams to try to learn the material that's going to be on there, it's just way too much material to really master that material before your exam. So I strongly recommend that about once a week that you stop and you study the material that you've covered that week. Study it like you're going to be taking a test. Learn that material. Then when it's time for your exam, you're not learning the material at that time. You're going back and reviewing what you've already learned, and so you've got it solid and you're well prepared, and you're going to do very well in your exam. Another thing that I think is very important is that if you don't understand a concept, get help early. The vast majority of your classes are going to build on each other. Your computer science classes certainly do, your math classes certainly do, but a lot of your other social science and science classes also build on early concepts. So if you get lost, chances are you're not going to get better by just trying to push your way through it. Get help early. As soon as you don't understand what's going on, get with someone to figure out, and kind of get you past that. All of your instructors have office hours, and those office hours, we set those up for you to meet with our students to help with whatever you're struggling with in the class. Take advantage of that. Go by and see your instructors. If they're remotely, request a Zoom, but get with your instructor if you get stuck. You will also have teaching assistants in the vast majority of your STEM classes. Certainly all of your computer science classes. They have office hours. They're available as well. You know, if you can't get in when the instructor has office hours, but your teaching assistant has availability, then get with your teaching assistant. There's also free tutoring and supplemental instruction for a lot of your courses from the first couple of years. Your core computer science courses, your core math courses, some of your core science courses. The university offers free tutoring. It's in the first floor of the library. You can go by there, check their schedule, see what they've got available, and go over there and get tutoring from them free. Also, there's supplemental instruction, which we'll touch on that a little bit more in a second, but that is in addition to, for certain classes, in addition to, you know, in class with your faculty member, we've got students who are hired that are top students to offer a supplemental instruction, and it's at different times, maybe on a Sunday afternoon or a Tuesday night, and they schedule a time to get together with students in those courses to go over some of that material and help where people may be getting stuck. So the last piece of advice that I have for you is to organize your time so that you're not surprised or overwhelmed by your commitments. You know, you may look at your schedule and go, I've got nothing due this week. I can stay up all night playing video games with my roommate because I've got nothing due this week. But then if you're not organized over your commitments, you may not realize that next week I have 2 papers, 2 exams, and a project due. Well, there's no way that you can prepare for all of that in 1 week. You need to invest some of your time in those things this week so that next week you aren't overwhelmed by your commitments. So organize your time. If that is a stretch for you, if that's not something that you are good at, the Center for Academic Success will sit down with you and help you organize your time and help you figure out what you need to do to stay on top of your commitments so that you don't become overwhelmed. Some classes are time consuming and you need to plan accordingly. Your math classes tend to be time consuming. Your computer science classes are typically pretty time consuming. So, you know, plan that out so that you're not caught off guard by that. Any questions, Mikey?
We had, let me see, one question. Let me scroll up a little bit. We have a question about the library, asking if the library is closed, and she thinks it's by appointment only. I'm not exactly sure what the library status is right now. I don't know if anybody on the panel does.
The last I heard, and Brandon, if you've heard something newer than this, let me know. You are absolutely correct on the library right now. The university is still in phase 2 of reopening, and so it is not open. The library is not open for walk-ins. However, by the time campus starts, the anticipation is that we will be at phase 3, and then the library will have be more accessible to you.
Yeah, I was going to say I anticipate for when the students come back that we'll be in phase 3, so that'll change.
Right.
I'm not 100%, but that's my guess. And then we also had a question regarding if we have stats of how many of LSU CS graduates get jobs in their field immediately after graduation. I'm not sure off the top of my head. I don't know if either of you two do.
I don't either, but I've never known a senior who was looking for a job to not find one.
I'll say that our exit surveys are self-reported, and so we don't know for every student. But the majority of our students that are looking for jobs, you know, some they go to the military or they're going to grad school, or some will even say that they're not ready to look for a job for one reason or another. But of the students that are looking for jobs, the majority of them have a job already. And the majority of those that have a job already interned at those companies at some point during their academic career. So, you know, a good portion of students are walking into, you know, they already know at the time of graduation who they're working for, and they've already had experience there. I'll say that we use Handshake is the platform where you can look for positions. You can look for positions, and that's a good thing to do when, as an undergraduate anyway, just to know what do job descriptions look like, what do people say that they're looking for, and that Career Center, the Olin Career Center, will help you kind of weed through what works for you for that. There's also a Career Expo every semester. I'll suggest that you attend that, even if you're not ready to really be looking for a job or an internship, just to get a relationship with some of these recruiters, get an idea of who's hiring for computer science students, and go ahead and go on some interviews, whether you're really ready to make a decision or not. It's good practice, and keep an ear out for that. Schedule yourself some time as you go through your semesters, especially as you get into your third and fourth year. Know that that's going to take you some time and some focus to do a job search. A lot of times I see students, they just want to finish up in their last 2 semesters and they're kind of loading up all of their courses. But I say, look, if you finish and you don't know what job if you haven't done your job search yet, then you got to take the time to do that. So just remember that takes some work, but it's worth it. And most of our students don't have any trouble finding that.
Yeah. So the industry, there's a shortage of computer scientists in the industry. And then we also, our students have a reputation of being, high quality students that are coming out. So our students are actively, recruited for positions. So, other questions, Mikey?
Yeah, we have one more. Does LSU have any presence at any computer science competitions across the country? And if so, what are those opportunities for students to participate in these competitions? Haley, I know you haven't introduced yourself yet, but I think you might have some knowledge on that.
So for competitions specifically, what I think of whenever you guys say competitions is probably like hackathons. So I know previously LSU actually hosted our own hackathon, and we really encourage computer science students to participate. That kind of like fell in previous years, but Mikey and some other people in the computer science department are actually talking about restarting a hackathon at LSU, so that students have the experience and the ability to, actually participate in a hackathon. So other competitions across the country, it would really depend. Like I know, some people can go to like robotics competitions or something like that. Is there anything specific that you had in mind? You can type it in the chat and I'll like reply to you, or maybe Miss Eamon can reply to you, or Brandon. But for competitions, I think you'd have to like maybe ask us something more specific. Conferences too, definitely. So for conferences, there's a conference called Grace Hopper, which is for female computer science students. And, normally the computer science department will take a lot of female students to this conference, which is in Florida, in Orlando. This year it's virtual, and Mikey is initiating the process of allowing a lot of female students to be able to go to that conference. But specifically for competitions, if you have anything specific, you can send me a message and I'll try to answer it for you.
Thank you, Haley.
Thanks, Haley.
Yeah, and I'll also mention, we also offer a course, a special topics course called Competitive Programming, that students that are interested in competitive programming can work with one of our LSU staff members who's been very involved in national competitions to kind of work on preparing for that type of competition.
And I'll just jump in and say some other competitions. We do host, LSU hosts a global game jam where they get in small groups to make a computer game over the course of a weekend. And we've also taken group to participate in Chillennium, which is at Texas A&M as far as a game jam. And other things that are related as far as competition, there's an esports club, and I know they've done some traveling. Well, let me mention, like Dr. Amos said about, or actually Haley said about conferences. A lot of conferences, students present a poster, which has to do with their research. Usually this is grad students do it, but LSU really has a lot of support for undergrad research presenters. And the computer science department, the chair, Dr. Karkiano, is particularly interested in that. If you were interested in research and you'd like to go to conferences to actually present your work to other computer scientists, mostly mostly faculty members or grad students across the country, then there would be a lot of support for that as far as, the registration fees and things like that. If you'd like to compete or if you like to showcase your work, LSU has supports for that.
Any other questions, Mikey?
Not yet. No, that's it. Thanks, guys, for chiming in.
All right, so there's some resources that are available to you at the university that you need to know about. So we're going to talk through some of those. I mentioned it a little bit earlier. There's the Center for Academic Success. Their main office is located in the basement of Coates Hall, which is in the Quad. And then their tutorial center, they manage the tutorial center that is in that first floor of the library. They provide academic coaching, free tutoring, and help with time management. They'll help you sit down and figure out what you need to do differently to manage your time so that you can be successful. Fabulous resource. I recommend that you, even if you feel like you don't need anything, just to stop in, kind of see what they have available to help you. Their whole mission in life is your success academically.
And I'll piggyback onto that with the time management. That Center for Academic Success has like a one-on-one meeting that's just 45 minutes, kind of does like a what type of learner are you and some tips. That's well worth your time. And you should realize that at taking what's considered a full course load or a full-time student is 12 hours. So realize that the difference between that and a 40-hour-a-week full-time job, you should be putting in 40 hours one way or the other. So if you find that you're not studying 28 hours or more or putting that much work into your homework, then you might need to question yourself and say, maybe I need to be trying to get ahead of the, keep this ahead of me and make sure I'm not playing catch up later. But as far as some of these resources, and Patty's already mentioned, the peer mentors run the supplemental instruction courses. This is out of the Chevron Center, which is on the first floor of the Patrick F. Taylor Hall, the engineering building. They have a computer lab with some different types of printers in case you need posters, things like that. They also house people who run the communication across the curriculum. This is a program where you take some specific courses where they have these communication components. This is a designation that you can have on your transcript and on your degree. This goes a long way in the computer science field, because lots of people say, I can pull together enough computer scientists to get work done, but if they can't communicate, right? Who can lead the group? Who can communicate with clients? There are a lot of reasons that computer science students need to learn to communicate, and this can really help you stand out. And you become what's called a distinguished communicator. Now, this supplemental instruction run by the Society for Peer Mentors, they are holding class or sessions once or twice a week by students that have taken the course and done well in the last year or two. I suggest that you start attending these for the computer science courses, at least from the get-go. We offer it for the first 4 computer science classes. It's good to just go for a review for the midterm and final for everybody, but really I suggest going from the beginning. It's well worth your time. And basically, you're getting more, if you're getting more out of it than you would be studying on your own, then it's worth your time. It's an efficient use of your time. We offer this for the first 2 programming courses, and then the next 2 courses. By the time you get to the 3rd and 4th courses, the supplemental instruction groups have really grown because students learn that that's what they need. Hit the next slide here, Patty. There you go. At 2259 and 3102 are the more upper level courses as far as that offer the supplemental instruction. Okay, now I'm just going to briefly go through these flowcharts. You don't need to ingest all of this, but I just want to show you that the purple courses in the later half of your time here will be where you specialize. So you'll see computer science, software engineering has 2 courses specifically mandated, compilers and databases, but then they have 4 other courses that you can choose from a shorter list. One of those being artificial intelligence. And then we had the question about machine learning. We also have the artificial intelligence course. So you can really, even though you're a software engineering student, you can still take courses that like data science related subjects if they interest you. So let's go through the next few of these. Data science, same thing, except for here you have 3 courses specifically mandated. Oh, I'm sorry, 4 and 2 of your choice. Let's keep going here. Cloud computing. Here you start in the 4th semester getting into your cloud courses, but the first 3 semesters are still exactly the same for all of our concentrations.
And I will mention too that if you don't get started with, say, your 2610 by your 4th semester, let's say it's your 5th semester and you get our 6th semester and you're going, oh gosh, you know, I really want cloud computing, it's not too late.
Yeah. Cybersecurity, our new one, has the most specific courses that you have to take. Though we do have students who will be taking all of these computer science courses that won't be in the cybersecurity concentration, right? Other students can take them. And then the one that's the most different is going to be the second discipline here, where the 5 courses are coming from an area outside of computer science. And to make up for some of those computer science hours, we've taken away 2 free electives and added computer science electives, just to make sure you're still shored up and solid in computer science, so that it's, you know, it's not a weakness. It's Patty says it's a strength, right? To have the diversity in your studies.
That's right.
But as you look at this, as we still have this up, this first 3 semesters is exactly the same, and your goal until you've completed your first goal is to look at the CSE 3102 that we have listed in the 3rd semester. It's a prerequisite for many of our upper level courses. And so you need to, as you plan out your courses each semester, I mean, we'll help you, but that needs to be your first goal, is to get past 3102. Then you'll have the prereqs to where you'll be able to balance your schedule with the most ease after you graduate, after you've passed that 3102.
Any questions, Mikey, on the flowchart?
No, not yet.
So I want to spend a little bit of time talking about student organizations and, you know, your student involvement. One of the things that I absolutely love about the computer science department at LSU is the sense of community that I see among students. I really enjoy, there's a common area, a little collaborative area right outside my office. And I love hearing upperclassmen helping freshmen with their problems, and, you know, the freshmen asking, you know, upperclassmen what kind of research they're working on and kind of projects that they're working on, and, you know, that sense of community. And we even have a grassroots Discord that's been set up by students and it's monitored by students, specifically for the computer science community. And so I really love that sense of community. I want to encourage you more sooner than later to get involved with the student organizations. And so I'll mention some here. There's Women in Computer Science is an organization that we have available. They have social events and support, and they have technical workshops. We have the Security Society of LSU, which they have meetings, guest speakers, and resource sharing about information security topics. We have a developer student club, which is really focused on application development. They meet together, they have, weekly workshops, and they are, working on just trying out and developing new and different things. They are open to all levels of experience, so freshmen can get involved there and work on projects with seniors. So it's a really great organization. There is also the Association of Computing Machinery, is the international trade organization for computer scientists, and there is a student chapter here at LSU. I would strongly encourage you to join that chapter before you finish your academic career. It looks really great on a resume that you've been involved in ACM before you go out into industry. Some other organizations that are popular with our students include esports, robotics, and the Society of Peer Mentors. So I cannot encourage you enough to get involved early and get involved often. But speaking of our students, we're now going to kind of transition over, and we'll give you the opportunity to hear from and ask questions to some of our current students. But before we do that, do we have any questions remaining, Mikey, on academics?
We do not. We had a question regarding if math was a good second discipline. Haley answered it in the chat, but I don't know if you or Brandon have anything to chime in regarding that.
No, it's a great pair. We often see math and computer engineering and a lot of the STEM hard sciences and all, but math is a great combination. We have a second discipline, and so does math. So I see a lot of students who are getting double major, math with a second discipline in computer science, and then computer science with a second discipline in math. So they do pair very well.
And I'll just chime in that this is getting into it a little bit, but we do have some, there's so much overlap between math and the theoretical underpinnings of computer science that we do have some substitute courses, and we'll work with you to make sure you're taking the most efficient route to do what you want to do. So if you want the math minor, or if you want to do math as a second major, we can say, here's where there's some overlap. Here's where you can choose whether you want to take the CSC version of this course or the math version of this course, and what that would mean for your coursework after that. And then I'll put in the chat a link to the flowcharts. The one on the engineering site will have the newer ones, which will include the cybersecurity flowchart as well.
Appreciate that, Brandon. Anything else from you, Dr. Amon?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, we'll transition to the students. So I will turn it over to LaShawn. LaShawn is an incoming sophomore, and she's a part of GoCS, which I kind of oversee. So LaShawn, I'll let you take it over for a little bit from here.
All right, hello everyone. My name is LaShawn Salmon. I am a second year, like Mikey said, and I'm a computer science major with a concentration in software engineering. I am from Metairie, Louisiana, which is right outside New Orleans, if you're not aware, just want to let you know. And I am a GoCS lead mentor, so I work alongside both Mikey and Haley. And that's just kind of a program where we go to high schools and we teach a little bit about computer science. If you're interested, you want to learn more about it. And I also participated in the Louisiana Engineering Society last year. And I just wanted to give a little bit of advice. First of all, welcome to LSU, and I'm so excited to have more computer science students. I know it's a big class, so it's really amazing to see so many people interested. And I just want to say, when you come in, don't be overwhelmed. So my first piece of advice is don't take on more than you can handle. There is a lot that LSU offers, and I know that it can kind of be exciting to jump in and try to tackle, like, oh, I want to be in these clubs and I want to take all these classes. And that is amazing that if you have that kind of like excitement and you want to go for that. But I want to say don't pile too much on, because you want to still have time to focus on your classwork and still have the extra time. Don't underestimate how much it will take and how much studying you need to really succeed. as a computer science student. And my second piece of advice is to enjoy your major. Definitely. I like to think of it as more than a class, because if you just think of it as classwork, you're going to think about, oh, I want to do my homework and then I'm going to be done with it. And I don't want to think about it after that. And it's important for me, especially, I don't know how, this is just how my brain works. If I think of it just as classwork, I'm not going to want to think about it as anything else. But when I start thinking about projects for myself, or when I start thinking about talking to friends about it and what they do with their computer science and things they enjoy about it, it suddenly becomes so much more and like a bigger part of my life. And that's also why I decided to become GoCS like a mentor in GoCS, is just because that gets you more involved, so you feel more encouraged in focusing on your major. And my third piece of advice is to just explore the campus. I know it might be hard just because of the climate of campus right now, but explore your options. Don't immediately just jump on the first thing you see, because there's a lot to see, especially when it comes to our extracurriculars and our clubs and everything. So I would definitely say there are going to be opportunities where you can go out and learn about clubs before you join them, and really take every single one of those that you can get. And make sure that you talk to people and make friends and have fun, because it's very important to socialize with computer science majors, not only so that you have people that you can attend events with, but also you can get study buddies and you can kind of have somebody to help you with notes. And if you're ever behind or like hard feelings like something's too hard for you, you can always talk to somebody about it. And it's kind of encouraging to know that you're not alone in your major, and you're not the only one who's going to be confused at some things, and you can kind of help them out and they can help you out too. So yeah, that's my advice on being a new student. Welcome to LSU.
Awesome. Thanks, LaShawn. Yeah, like LaShawn said, she's going to be our GoCS lead mentor next year and hopefully in the future. So Haley was our lead mentor this past year, and she's kind of helping LaShawn transition into that lead mentor role. So I'll just pitch GoCS real quickly. I know Haley will talk about it as well, but if you're interested in mentoring high school aged or possibly middle school age students in computer science, definitely feel free to reach out to me about GoCS. So we'll have a few spots open in the fall for new mentors. So I'll drop my contact info in the chat if you are interested in doing something like that. But Haley, I'll let you talk a little bit more about GoCS and everything about you.
Cool. So like Mikey said, I'm actually a 5th year in computer science. I'm actually going to attend grad school, so I'm anticipating graduating in August, and I love the computer science department so much they can't get rid of me, so I'm staying for another year or two to actually get my graduate degree. But you know, I've been here for so long, so I actually have a lot of advice for you guys. So I'm just going to kind of tell you that advice, a little bit about my experiences and some opportunities you guys can have. So whenever I started at LSU, I really didn't know what I wanted to do, and my parents were both in computer science, so they told me to do it. So I just said okay, and I had never written a line of code in my life. I really didn't even know what computer science was. All I knew is that I liked math, and my parents were computer scientists. I went into class my first day, 1350, my first computer science class, and I had like absolutely no idea what was going on. So that happens to you guys. It's okay. It happens to a lot of us. But yeah, for like the first week of class, I really didn't know what was going on. I had to actually go to the lab and put my hands on a computer and actually write code. And then I figured out I liked it. So I was a little discouraged in the beginning, but after doing it, putting my hands on it, I decided, you know, I think I'm going to stick with this. This is actually kind of cool whenever you actually, you know, write your first program. So you guys, if you're going into computer science, a little bit of advice I would have is to maybe try some coding before, just so you can get a little bit of experience. But I know people who had never written a line of code in their life, and everyone's still fine. So don't worry about that in general. If you're going into class and it feels a little over your head, it's totally okay. So like I said, I've been at LSU for a while, and my first year, I really didn't want to do anything. I just wanted to focus on school. So in my second year, I kind of was just really, really bored. I really, you know, I missed volunteering because I volunteered a lot whenever I was in high school. So I joined a club called the Society of Peer Mentors that Miss Amen just talked about. And that gave me the opportunity to volunteer in the community. So mostly volunteering with different engineering activities. But with that, I got to, you know, learn a little bit about robotics, which is something I never thought I would have done before. And then I also got to work a summer camp called Encounter Engineering, where I got to develop projects for incoming computer science, computer engineering, and electrical engineering students. So not only was I like helping students in the computer science discipline, but also in, you know, electrical engineering and computer engineering. And it made me learn about those things too. So what's really cool about that experience for me, I just got to know somebody who worked in the college, and she knew that now I know how to use what's called a SparkFun kit. So that's what a lot of people in electrical engineering use in their electrical engineering classes. They'll use Arduinos or, you know, like circuits to learn fundamentals of computer engineering, electrical engineering. So she knew, you know, I had done this volunteer work, worked at this camp, and there became another opportunity in the college for the Go CS program that Mikey and LaShawn talked about. And, you know, someone had happened to ask her, her name is Adrian, hey, do you know like any students who might know how to use a SparkFun kit? And she's like, oh, as a matter of fact, I do. There's actually a computer science student named Haley. So they asked me to come help with the Go Computer Science program. So actually before Mikey came on board, I was helping to kind of create a curriculum to go to local high schools and help inspire students like you guys to actually go into a STEM major, and specifically a computer science major, because there's just so much that you guys can do with it. So a lot about our program is just that we try to, you know, go into the community and expose students who might not have access to like hardware components, or might not have a teacher who knows how to teach computer science. And we just try to give them that opportunity. So that sounds like something you guys would be interested too. We hire computer science students to actually go mentor and go like to these schools and help students. So you can reach out to Mikey about that. But a couple other things I wanted to mention too are some of the opportunities that you'll get as a computer science student. So if you look on the slide in the bottom left corner, I think this was my second year here. I actually got the opportunity to travel to Silicon Valley for a class. So I got class credit for taking like a week vacation, going to California with a bunch of other students, and we got to tour like Google, Apple, Bloom Energy, IBM. We went to the Computer History Museum. It was absolutely amazing. It made me realize like, oh, these are some of the technology companies I would want to work for and wouldn't want to work for. But the most amazing thing about that is that I got class credit that applied towards my computer science degree. And you'll find there are a lot of opportunities like that at LSU. And of course, you'll get emails about them from Patty and Brandon. So if you're worried about hearing about those, don't worry, you'll get like 400 emails from them about these kind of opportunities. But another good thing too is your internships. So just from, you know, knowing a couple people in the college and joining some clubs, I got to know some recruiters. And whenever they'd have internships, you know, they would tell me like, oh, hey, you know, have you ever thought about applying for an internship at IBM? So what's really, really good about computer science is that there are so many internships and so many jobs. You know, even in this pandemic, a lot of my friends in different engineering majors are looking for jobs, and companies aren't really hiring right now. But that's not a problem with computer science, because a lot of computer scientists can work remotely. So just in general, any of my friends in computer science have had no trouble at all finding a job. Most of them have had jobs, you know, since November. They knew they were going to graduate and go work for Chevron in Houston or something. So I know that came up previously. And as a student who is about to graduate, and a lot of my friends just recently graduated, finding a job is not going to be a problem for you whatsoever. And then I guess I would say I really wanted to give you guys a few pieces of advice, because I definitely had some struggles as a computer science student. So the one thing that really helped me was to form study groups. So in my first class, where I had no idea what was going on, there was a group of us that all had like no idea what was going on, and we all kind of became friends. We went to our labs together, and really what happened was we all bonded, and there was a group of maybe like 12 of us, and we all took our classes together throughout our time at LSU. Of course, some of us were taking like different classes, and we kind of would add friends to that group. And now we have a giant group on like Snapchat. honestly. And we talk to each other every day, and it's really awesome. Like, we'll talk to each other about like what jobs we get or what internships. And, you know, like I'll tell them like, oh man, I'm having so much trouble, you know, I like don't know how to do this thing. And someone will be like, oh, hey, check this website out. This will really help you. So study groups, it's not just going to be for studying. If you can really like form a study group, people you can talk to, people you can ask questions, it could potentially be friendships that you'll have forever. So like I said, I talk to my friends in computer science, like some of them are in Seattle, some of them are in Texas, some are in California, Florida, and we talk every day, and we'll talk about computer science stuff, and we try to encourage each other and find each other jobs or find each other stuff to do, or talk about this new technology or this article that we found. The second thing I want to talk about that is extremely important in computer science is academic integrity. So if you guys don't know what GitHub and Stack Overflow are, or really about computer science in general, computer science is very open source. And so what I mean by that is when you develop something, it's very encouraging to share it with the community. So, you know, packages, different things, GitHub, open source, that means you want to share it, you want other people to have the opportunity to use it, which is absolutely amazing. But when you come to LSU, it is awesome to develop, you know, your own projects. But when it comes to your schoolwork, you have to be very careful not to share that. So if that means, you know, you're applying for a job and you have a project that's due in a week, you can't post that project online, even if you want to show it to the recruiter, because you don't want other people taking your work. So even if you do it, you know, for the intention of showing a recruiter, you have to be very, very, very careful about your academic integrity. So even if you're not going to get a 4.3 GPA, don't take code from somebody else, and don't send your code to anybody else, even though you might want to. So you'll find there's a very clean line between collaborating with people and like copy and pasting and cheating. So you guys, you'll learn these things as you come to LSU, but just be very, very careful with that. Keep in mind too that a lot of your professors are geniuses, and they can write code to detect cheating in code. So keep that in mind as you're at LSU in the computer science department. Another thing I'll say, and this was the hardest thing for me at LSU, is be a yes person, but only if you can be a yes person. So I'm definitely a yes person. Anytime anyone asks me to do anything, I always say yes. But looking back at my time at LSU, because I didn't really say no, and LaShawn was saying, you know, only take on what you can handle, I never really said no. So sometimes school would have to be a second priority to me, because, you know, I had to volunteer like 8 hours one week, or at this event one day. So it really wasn't until my senior year that I really had to start saying, you know, no. And Mikey experienced that, because I was the lead mentor at Go CS, and he would say, hey, can we have a meeting this week? And I would say, I don't think we can do that. And like, it was really great because Mikey was super understanding. And for me, I had to actually say no to somebody to realize that people in the world are understanding if you say no. But try to be a yes person if you can. But again, make sure you're balancing your time as much as possible. But for me, I try to say to be a yes person, because if I would have never said yes to, you know, working an engineering camp, I never would have gotten the opportunity to work with the Go CS program, which is probably one of my favorite things that I did at LSU. So again, any door can open like 7 other more doors for you, but be careful to only be a yes person if you can. But yeah, that's pretty much it for me. Do you guys have any questions for me?
Yeah, thanks for all that, Haley and LaShawn. I think it's time for question and answers. Dr. Amon, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, well, what's some great advice from LaShawn and Haley. Thank you so much. I know that was very helpful to our students. So I've got some links up here that I think may be useful for you. There's a link to the general catalog, to, you know, the computer science curriculum. There's another link to course descriptions, and in the general catalog, your gen ed requirements. Make sure you're pulling from that list for your gen ed requirements. Then there's a link to the course offerings, which you've probably already found by now, and also a link to the flowchart. So I'm just going to leave these up here so that as the video is recorded, you know, you've got that available to you. And just open up the floor for any questions, and you can ask questions in general or to any one of us in particular.
Yeah, I was gonna pitch a question to LaShawn and Haley just to get started off. And sorry for cutting in and out with my video. My new dog is very jealous that I'm spending time with you guys and not him. So he's been kind of going crazy. But I'll pitch a question to LaShawn and Haley. So what is something that you've learned about computer science that you didn't know when you first got to LSU?
LaShawn, you want to go first?
Yeah, I can go ahead. So actually, before I went to LSU, before I got here my first year, which was last year, I'd only taken one computer science class. And I had kind of taken that as kind of, I thought it'd be weird to go in and not have any experience. So I kind of just wanted to do that for myself. It's not necessary. It's definitely not necessary. But even then, just taking that one online course, I did not learn nearly as much as when I took my first course at LSU. And I learned that coding is so much more flexible than I thought it was. I learned that a lot of people code very differently. And that's why we also learn there's very basic conventions when it comes to coding, because otherwise it can be so hard to look at somebody else's code and just understand what they're doing and what they're writing. And so a big thing, I actually had Dr. Amon. She was my first computer science professor. She was amazing. And she taught us immediately early on that it's very important to put comments and explain what you're doing in your code, because everybody does things differently. And it's very important just so that it's not confusing, because there's a lot of sharing and collaborating in the computer science world. And that's something that I learned. So yeah, just clarity in computer science, because it's so flexible. There's so many different ways to do things. That's one of the biggest things that I learned.
I would definitely say the biggest thing that I learned is how broad the field of computer science can be. So whenever I first, was considering computer science, I really didn't know what it was. I just thought it was someone sitting behind a computer coding all day, and going into it and learning about all the different disciplines and actually researching the job market. I realized there are so many things you can do with a computer science degree. You're not going to be able to go through a computer science degree without writing any code, but you could potentially be getting jobs where you're not going to write any code. You could be getting jobs as some sort of project manager or something like that. But really, you can apply computer science to anything you can think of. You can apply it to education, to science, to the medical field. So if there's any passion that you have, you can apply computer science to it, whether that's video games or even if it's food. Anything that you have, you can apply computer science to that. And I think that's one of the biggest things that I learned, and that makes me very excited to say that I'm an LSU computer science graduate.
Awesome, thanks for those answers. Yeah, if you guys have any questions, feel free to put it in the chat. We'll give it about 4 or 5 minutes for you guys to ask questions. I'll pitch a question to Brandon and Dr. Amon, and LaShawn and Haley if you want to answer, but what initially got you interested in computer science, and what makes you love the field?
Wow. So I started out as a math major. But we had to take a programming class as part of the math major. And then that first class that I took was just, oh my gosh, this is so much fun. However, my father was a computer scientist back in the 60s. He was one of the early developers back when machines filled a whole room. And, he was a huge geek. All of his friends were huge geeks. So for me, early looking onto that was just like, well, I don't want to do that. I don't want to be a part of that. But then once I actually took my first course and started programming, I just totally fell in love with it.
It's a good answer. Anybody have anything else to chip in? No worries if not. Cool.
I can go ahead and say that I kind of went through most of my high school career not knowing at all what I wanted to do with my life in general, and I had this kind of thing in my brain where I was like, I should just do what I know I'm good at. I should be like a writer or something like that, just because I get good grades in English. But I had always had this interest in computers, and coding was just amazing to me. It was amazing to know how people make video games and how people program for websites. And For some reason, I don't know why, I just thought, but that's what the cool people do. I could never do that. And I thought maybe I'm not smart enough to do that. But really, it's realizing that you just have to try it. You can't just sit there and stare at other people doing stuff that you think is amazing when you could just jump in there and do it yourself. So definitely, just for me, it's just I thought it was cool. I thought it was interesting, and I'm very, very glad that I decided to try it for myself because I can't imagine my life without it. I think it's so much.
Awesome, that's a good answer. Dr. Amon, we have a question for you. So somebody is taking your class next semester and he wants to know of what some good tips would be for preparing for your class.
So I'll tell you, when I was a freshman in college, I asked a professor that, and the answer I got back was study, study, and study. But that's not my answer to you. Really, those tips that I gave on that recipe for success is really, to a great extent, a recipe for success in my class. You know, read the material before you come to class, so that in class we are, you know, cleaning up any misconceptions you have or any questions that you have. I will say that computer programming is something that you can't do by learn by reading. You have to learn by doing it. And so, you know, that's why the lab is a part of that class. You've got to get your hands in there. You've got to do it yourself. So I encourage all of my students to not just do what the assignment is, but then spend some time playing around and, you know, doing other stuff. You know, if you finish lab early, you know, add something else to it, or figure out how to do it a little differently, or can I clean this up? And the more time you spend programming, the quicker you will become an accomplished programmer.
Thanks for that. LaShawn, do you have any? I was going to say you just took your class.
So as I said, I had her my first semester. And definitely, I feel like my biggest thing was when I bought my textbook, it came with like an electronic key. And Dr. Amon, at least for me, and I think for all of her classes, at least all of the 1350 classes, she assigns homework. And the homework, they're super easy. Like takes like 15 minutes to do it, you know, and really take that time to read the textbook. And if you have the electronic version, you can actually do some coding inside of the book. And it's so amazing. It's so helpful. Like, I understood her class so well just because I took those 15 minutes every day before her class to do that homework assignment and utilize the electronic version of the textbook.
Great advice, LaShawn.
Yeah, that's a good tip. I don't think we have any other questions. I know we had several during the presentation. So if you guys do have a question, type it out real quick right now. But if not, I'm going to wrap it up. Dr. Amon or Brandon, do you guys have any final things to say? Or Haley or LaShawn?
Go Tigers.
Go Tigers.
There you go. Go Tigers. So keep a lookout in your email after this. I think tomorrow or maybe Monday, you'll get some follow-up information. And it'll include a link to the recording for all this. So if you miss anything, you can go back and look and watch the recording. So I just want to thank all of you guys for signing up for this and thank our 4 speakers. It was a great presentation, a lot of helpful information. And thank you, LaShawn and Haley, for all the tips and advice for the students. So thank you guys as well. And thank you all for signing up, and go Tigers.
Oh, Mikey, did you see that last question?
Oh, one more question. So is it possible to test out of early computer science if I already have a base knowledge of the material?
There is a credit exam. If you've taken it through AP credit or dual enrollment, then that's going to come in automatically. If you don't, if you just know the content, there is a credit exam that you can take. And if you're interested in that, just get in touch with me and I'll get you the form that you need to start that process.
Awesome. Good catch, Haley. So for everyone else, that's going to wrap it up. So I'll close this meeting, but looking forward to seeing you guys in the fall and whatever fashion we do have class in. I'm sure it'll all work itself out and everyone's in the same boat, at least with this whole coronavirus thing.
We will all figure it out.
Yes, we'll all figure it out, and you guys are all troopers for going through this. So it'll be a good semester, but looking forward to seeing you guys in the fall, and go Tigers.